Alexis, do you want to get us kicked off?
Hi, everybody. I'm Alexis Kongmani, Growth Marketing Manager at For Impact Data. Thank you for joining our webinar today. Feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn afterwards. And if you have any questions during, you can go ahead and drop it in the Q&A section.
All right. And I'm Elizabeth Davis. I'm the Chief Growth Officer here at For Impact Data, recovering accountant, longtime growth leader. Today we'll be talking about getting buy-in for CAS at home. So we'll talk about the perception gap inside of firms about CAS, 4 plays to win hearts and minds, framework for repositioning CAS internally, the data from CPA.com and AI CPA benchmarks, a couple of case studies. We'll do a real quick demo of For Impact Data and a 90-day action plan that you can start right away to make sure that you're getting that buy-in. And why does it matter? We've all been hearing this, but CAS delivers great margin, recurring revenue for firms. It's the future as audit and tax work becomes commoditized. You'll see more shift towards advisory work. We need to close that gap, that perception around CAS just meaning bookkeeping. There is a negative connotation, unfortunately, although bookkeeping is the backbone of everything we do. We need to make sure that the rest of the firm understands all of the things that our CAS teams offer. And then also being strategic about the way we grow our clients. And then expanding on the market pressures for advisory demand. If you're not serving your clients in that way to offer those additional services, they're going to go find it somewhere else. Okay, so let's kick things off with a quick poll. Alexis, if you could put that poll up for us. Just where are you in your practice? Are you an emerging CAS? Are you building foundations and structure? Are you scaling? Do you have those defined offerings, but potentially uneven buy-in from your other teams? Or are you leading? Do you have a growth engine in place with recurring revenue, AI technologies? Or are you just now exploring CAS and what that means for your organization?
Most people are voting emerging.
Right. That's pretty much what I hear in most of the rooms that I sit in with CAS. All right. So let's tackle the CAS perception gap. So what CAS teams say, we're recurring high margin revenue. We deepen client relationships and retention. We support our clients on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. And we're business partners. We're sitting alongside our clients as they grow their businesses. And there's a misperception oftentimes within a firm, whether it's, again, not just bookkeeping, and a lot of people think that B word is a bad word. I happen to think it's incredibly important. We just need to remind everyone that there's a lot more value that is offered beyond the bookkeeping. I hear this a lot, that it cuts into the existing work. So it could be, do different partners have, and are they incentivized to keep the dollars in their own area? And then also the complexity around CAS. I think there's too many different services. It's too hard to sell to their clients. Selling has a negative connotation. So we need to really work on all of those perceptions, win over the hearts and minds of all the team members across the firm so that we can win with CAS. So again, like a lot of times where we find those misalignments is with a legacy mindset. We'll hear people say, oh, we tried it in the past, it didn't work. We might be using the wrong metrics to measure success. A lot of times we need to make sure that we're looking at retention. Do we have higher retention when we have our clients have multiple service lines within the firm? We know that that is true. And also we know that there are risks associated with not adding additional services. And then the service silos. How are the partners compensated? Do they want to keep all those dollars within their vertical, or are they going to be incentivized on whole firm growth? And then we need to, one of the things I hear a lot is CAS teams get thrown cleanup work from tax teams in a pinch. And a lot of leading CAS teams will no longer accept those. They only accept reoccurring revenue clients. And there's even many firms that I've worked with where they won't accept any new tax clients unless they're also doing the ongoing CAS work for them. And of course, there's the capacity fear. If we offer these services to our clients, are we going to be able to meet their expectations? And technology can help us expand our capacity. We like to say here, 10x your advisory for impact data. And there's lots of technologies that help us do that. So who are the internal stakeholders that we need to include? And this can vary depending on the size of your firm. And the larger the firm, the more stakeholders we have to get involved. So we have manager, partner, firm leaders. I was at DCPA this week and I was talking to a great firm and they said everyone was bought into CAS except for the managing partner. I'm like, that's a really sad place to be in if the top person still has a legacy mindset and is thinking of it as just bookkeeping and not seeing the value of all the other areas that CAS has to serve the firm. So we have to make sure we have our executive buy-in. And then our operations and our finance infrastructure, we need the backing of those leaders to have the best technology in place to make sure when they're involved in other conversations, we're thinking CAS first for our operations and then tax partners and audit partners. Again, making sure they're aware of all the different services because our CAS practices change and grow as the needs of our clients change and grow. So we have to keep on involving them and telling our stories back where we have our success. And then those rising generations, the next gen partners that are coming up, again, this is a good storytelling. And then if we have industry and practice groups, we want to get buy-in from them as well, so that our messaging shifts depending on what the priorities are for the different leaders and the different stakeholders in the firm. And one of the biggest things that we have to do is, again, shift the story from services to outcome or from historian to navigator. So the old school thought model, it's very services focused, very historical, backward looking, bookkeeping write up, month end close, cleanup, doing reporting so that we're only really looking at the future, to where the new school CAS were really outcome focused and navigators for our clients. So we're doing cash flow visibility, predictability, what's FP&A services, strategic insights and planning, and then really offering that business guidance to help our clients go from where they are now to where they want to be in the future. And we're best suited to do that. And again, this is where we really get those high margins. We're value-based for our clients as opposed to being more commoditized. CAS value at the 3 levels of the firm. We have the firm level value. So reoccurring, predictable revenue, diversified services mix beyond just compliance, increased firm valuation. Again, this helps us have a very healthy, productive client mix. We also have the partner level value. So additional services without hiring more compliance staff, more share of wallet per client. This is one of the metrics that we look at, revenue per client, so revenue per employee. We reduce the risk of client churn. A lot of the metrics that we've seen lately is if your client has been with you for 5 years or more, they are actually higher risk of churn as opposed to lower risk. And that's something that a lot of firms are not aware of. One of the ways we can combat that is by offering those additional level of value and additional service lines. And then the client level value, real-time financial insights and forecasting, proactive advice versus that reactive cleanup. Again, like the clients don't need more reports, they need more guidance. So we're offering better decisions, less stress, and more satisfaction. You hear the story time and time again. The client came to me and said, "Why didn't you tell me? We were at risk. Like we were having some cash challenges. We weren't going to be able to pay our payroll. Why didn't you bring this to my attention?" It's like, well, you weren't paying me for those services. So it's really important that we expand and offer that level to our clients. Again, we want to keep this interactive. If you have any questions along the way, please pause, put it in the chat. I'm happy to help and answer. Okay, and so what does the data say? Again, most people are aware of this. 2024 CAS benchmark, 61% revenue growth in CAS since 2022. High value advisory CFO type services generate 30% higher monthly reoccurring revenue versus that transactional CAS. It's something that most people want to get to. Excuse me. A lot of the firms I talk to aren't quite there yet. Maybe they have a few of those VCFOs, and they're really looking to grow their staff and their offerings that direction. 17% annual growth. So medium growth rate versus on the 2023 over 2022. Something we hear all the time is like where we have those defined industry niches, we have the highest rate of return, the highest satisfaction, 51% higher net revenue per client when we understand where our client demographics are and we really carve out niche expertise. And then 156K net client fees per professional. That's up 29% over 2022. And a lot of this has to do with technology investments and being able to maximize the value on our employees and the fees that we get per client. So it's higher margin areas. Again, keeping in mind that we should all be moving from the hourly billing to more of a value flat fee, those type of billing models, especially as we have AI come in and automate the transactional part of our services. Common objections that we hear internally, I think we've all heard these. Our clients won't pay for CAS. We don't have the capacity. We're tired. Oh, we tried CAS before. It didn't work. Also, we're tired. That was a big thing that I heard in 2025 at DCPA. And our clients are too small for advisory. And a lot of the conversations that we have with those leaders, you know, I've heard Dixie McCurley talk about this a lot. She'll talk about how she'll have a relationship manager tell her like, hey, our client's not going to pay for those services. But when they go in and they identify these challenges they're having and their plans for growth and align the outsource accounting offering with where the client wants to go, they're able to increase those fees that they're charging their client because they're aligning the value with the value and the outcome of their clients. So I've heard her tell me, you know, they were receiving $2,000 or $3,000 a month in revenue for a client for some bookkeeping services, and putting together a package that made sense with where the client was going. They were high growth. They had some very aggressive targets, being able to increase the revenue per month for that client up to $20,000. And again, this is against the recommendations of, I shouldn't say against the recommendations, but just the relationship manager said there was no way they're going to do that. And we were able to add that value to that client and really change some outcome there. So the objections really are, yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to go ahead and put a poll into the chat. So let's see, which one have you guys run into? And it's multiple choice, so you can select multiple.
And while you do that, I'll go to my next slide, which talks about some of the ways that we can combat or just reframe the argument. So the clients won't pay. So we just want to empathetically acknowledge this fair. No one wants to oversell. We don't want to do that. You know, under Under promise, over deliver. So clients pay for confidence and outcomes. And then firms delivering advisory see 51% higher revenue per client. So let's test it. It's something that I do with my teams is like, let's try it. Let's try it with a couple different clients and see what our outcomes are. Alexis, tell me when you have your results.
It looks like majority are voting for A and B, so the clients won't pay or they have no capacity.
Okay, great. So on the no capacity, I get it. Your team is stretched thin. So CAS absorbs the advisory burden, reducing fire drills in tax. This is something that we hear almost everywhere I go. It's they get the emergency cleanup work. So let's start with clients that impact you the most. Where are we seeing the most cleanup work? Let's get those clients into our CAS practice so that it's not a fire drill anymore. And then again, we tried that before. Yes, early CAS is messy everywhere. So it's time. This time we have structure, package, plan, pricing. Let's do the 90-day pilot. Carve out one partner that's willing to work with the CAS team to really grow and show the rest of the way. And the clients are too small. That's another objection. And again, many SMBs don't ask, they need. This was something I heard this week too at DCPA. If you look at, like, there's a lot of clients that would be overlooked because maybe they're $1.5 million revenue. What was the revenue the year before? Was it $1 million and 500,000 the year before that? It's incredible growth. They're fast growing. If we were to target 3% of their revenue for our outsource accounting, that's nearly $50,000 a year. So again, with value-based pricing, when we talk about 1%, 2%, and 3% pricing models for our outsource accounting, we can do a lot for some very small clients. So again, let's identify top 10 advisory ready clients together and work from there. Okay. And I was mentioning the case study of, I didn't mention creative planning, but we have creative planning. Creative planning started out, I think, they started out as a wealth management firm. And then as they were building out their practice and growing, they realized was a large portion of their clients' wealth was tied up into the businesses they ran. So to make sure they could maximize on the value for their clients, they offered CAS services, those CFO services. Now they have pod structures over there. So you have your CFO, your high-level CFO, and then quite a few people that will work under them. So your CFOs might have 50, 100 clients. What they do is, they're doing their reviews, and they have technology in place so that they get the most value out of their highest asset, their CFO's time. So they cut down as much as possible of like the redundant transactional work. And they have a culture where their advisors are judged by business impact and not hours. And this is one of the mindsets, right? It's really shifting the mindset. It's like we're maximizing on the value. Again, this was backed by everything that they've learned internally, making sure that they're adding value for their clients. They do use For Impact data to help identify risk and opportunities and save tons of time. They have other technologies in place as well, and it just really helps them deepen their client relationships. I have funny stories from them. It's like we tell our clients well ahead of time. They don't always listen, but we can know that we're not negligible. We are advisors first for them. And another one, Cherry Beckert. We have Dixie McCurley, the queen of CAS over there, leading their outsource accounting firms. She goes on a roadshow with her partners. She identifies clients that are tax clients that she wants to get into and grow that outsource accounting, or perhaps they just have a small footprint in outsource accounting, and she's seen like, hey, I have this great opportunity to help your client grow. So she'll work with the partners and get those introductions. She actually will put together scripts for them to do introductions and get her in the door. It's very data driven. She's data driven insights, standardized processes in place. And again, moving from that compliance to the more advisory level, controllership, FP&A services, growing what they're offering to their clients to maximize on that value and those outsource accounting dollars. She's made it productized. So it's a very repeatable process. And again, she's giving the success to those partners as well. So it's making them look like heroes. It's amazing what she does with her firm there. Okay. So there are 4 plays to win the hearts and minds of the practice. So the first thing we got to do is we need to align our CAS to firm strategy. One of the best ways, if we happen to have a firm where all the partners are incentivized regardless of where the revenue is, so there's no competition, that's always great, but we want to make sure that we're aligning CAS to the firm strategy. We always want to make our partners look good. So this is where the under promise, over deliver comes in. And I've seen this a lot in the CAS practice. We really have a heart for service and serving our clients, and accountants across the board. A lot of them want to help out the small businesses they serve. We want to make risks and opportunities visible to the firm. These are risks that may have been overlooked otherwise, and make it easy to say yes to CAS. So in that first, align CAS to firm strategy. So we want to map to firm KPIs. What are our growth targets? What are margin goals, recurring revenue percentage? Keeping in mind that CAS is one of the greatest accelerators in a firm. We really can become a leader in these areas. So making sure we understand what the firm's KPIs are and mapping to that. We want to frame everything up as scalable advisory. How the firm scales profitably is we have to go beyond compliance and be that business partner. And then integrate CAS metrics. So it's the revenue percentage, growth rates, client retention, reoccurring versus one-off. Most firms have those one-off projects, but they really try to reduce the number that they're engaged in because they keep their staff fully booked with reoccurring revenue. And those are the big words there, is that monthly reoccurring revenue. And then show peer benchmarking. How are firms like us doing it? What percentage of other firms that look like us, what is their CAS revenue percentage? How are they growing? If there's people that are doing it better, talk to them, figure out what they're doing and learn from them. Okay. 2, we want to make the partners look good. Who doesn't like to look good for their clients? So again, CAS is a relationship deepener. So this is to take the partners alongside you. One of the big things that we always hear is like, we wouldn't want a tax partner to sell CAS services. We want to make sure that we're in the room with them, but that we always make them look good. So we want to help our partners strengthen those client bonds, not compete with it. Provide them with very simple tools, trigger phrases to when to bring us in, what a good CAS client looks like, or as we're growing our services, what are some of the services that we offer, and how do they know when they need to bring us in? And then proposal templates, scripts, whatever, to help set us up for success. And then celebrate the wins publicly. I'll hear sometimes that we'll do success stories afterwards. We'll talk about people within the CAS practice that have gone above and beyond. But I think it's also really important to celebrate leaders in other departments that have introduced the CAS team to their client to share in the success. Make sure that we're publicly thanking them as well for bringing us in. So when we talk about those success stories we have shared across the firm, and really highlight the partners that are doing an excellent job of bringing CAS to their clients. This is another big one here, is we want to make the risk and opportunities visible. So use data and dashboards or highlight clients that are at risk with high advisory potential, whether it's the cash flow issues, margin compression, growth inflection, lack of forecasting, and create watch lists. So for each partner, make sure they understand here are 10 clients where we should be working to get CAS or reoccurring advisory in place. We're frame it around protection, reduced risk, and strengthened relationship. And it's really like, what are the opportunities? Increased wallet share, increased retention, stronger relationships, healthier clients. If your client goes out of business, they're not a client anymore. And that makes us look bad. We should have been advising them. We should have been proactive. Again, always keeping in mind, clients need our help. They need proactive advice and not just reactive after the fact. And then again, the data removes the subjectivity from the metrics. So we're just going to say, okay, the metrics are showing where we can add value. And then it's not personal. So one of the great tools that I heard about doing this cross-functional framing, it's a DCPA, was doing a client war room. So expanding opportunities together and bringing in different leaders from different areas of focus. You know, if you could do this once a month with 1 or 2 clients, and bringing your CAS, your up and coming leaders and your CAS leaders into the room too, to share in the conversation, to turn on that critical thinking. Because a lot of times in CAS, we get very transactional. We forget to see the forest from the trees. So this was a great idea that I heard, again, so that we can brainstorm with all those different points of view on how to expand services in a client. Again, not just in CAS, but in other areas, whether it's, you know, wealth management, tax strategy, you know, wherever it is that your firm offers services. Again, like anytime you have those different personalities, different perspectives, you're going to open up those critical thinking pathways to grow your team as well. And then making sure that you have great leaders from the CAS team involved. So it encourages the open dialogue, you know, maintain the sharp focus, and then it helps everyone visualize this. And again, keeping that CAS at the focus of the strategy. And then again, once we put those in place, come back around and share our success stories. With that, I'm going to do a quick For Impact Data demo to show you how we can surface up opportunities. Okay, Alexis, can you see my 4ID dashboard?
No, I can't.
Okay, let me stop sharing. Oh, and there we go, and then share again. Oop. Share screen. Okay, can you see it now? All right, awesome. Okay, so here we have the business health indicator dashboard for Impact Data. This is where we can monitor all of your clients' health in one location. So you could see red, yellow, green, unless you're colorblind, probably. You could see the health of your clients. We can pick any client or multiple clients and see their health indicator scores based on liquidity, profitability, debt to equity, solvency, and sales activity. We get AI insights right here. So not only are we monitoring the entire client base, we're offering up a summary information with potential projects and risk that can be, should be addressed with your client in one location. So this is where leaders like Matt West and Dixie McCurley can monitor that client base and save a lot of time in one place, and then also cluster their clients by potential projects. So you have that repeatability and scale as you're doing your outreach, and then save time prepping for those meetings, those important meetings with your client, as opposed to spending hours preparing for a conversation. We can cut that down to minutes. So here we can see we could do some debt restructuring, cash flow optimization strategy. Some work can be done with Dunder Mifflin here. And then also, as we're looking to do that clustering, we have great demographic view of all of our clients. And again, this is regardless of back office system, as long as it's online. You could have your Sage Intacct, your QBO, your Xero, NetSuite, all in one location, one view here. With your client demographics, you can see my largest segment of clients is in professional services in the $1 to $5 million range. So as we talk about packaging and making it easy to service those clients with our outsource accounting, we need to know, what does that look like? Where should our packages be when we're selling to those? Thinking about that 1%, 2%, and 3% revenue bands, targeting that percentage of revenue for our service packages. And then also, if I wanted to target my larger outsource accounting clients for additional services, I could see where are those, where are my $10 million plus revenue clients? They're heavily in manufacturing, which makes sense. And then also, as we're talking about scaling and saving time, as we move from more of that transactional work to the advisor, we offer up those insights on the nine key factors that all business owners need for our teams as they're growing, so they can act in confidence about things like, how is my client managing their operating cost in 8th grade English? Organization has a high cost relative to its sales. And then what can we do about that? So actions and next steps, cash management review, supplier review, cost center review. Again, these are some services that I've seen that have been very popular in CAS teams lately, is those supplier and vendor negotiations, and cash management reviews, just as an example. And then also, as a value add, as we're looking to differentiate, we have these out-of-the-box offerings here for, out-of-the-box report that can be sent off to your clients, just to give them a teaser. So I've seen some of the firms we work with use this as a way to move from the bookkeeping to additional services, whether it's an FP&A service, controllership to add on. They'll send this over with a little video talking, a Zoom video, talking to their clients about offerings that they would like to expand into with them. All right. With that, I'm going to stop sharing and go back to our PowerPoint. Again, there's a lot more to talk about in our software, but I just wanted to give a little teaser about the ways that some of the firms we work with are using for impact data. Okay. And again, it's purpose-built for CAS. With an overview of your client health score, actionable insights so that we're not being reactive, we're being proactive, data-backed recommendations that can improve the health of your clients right away. And then we're really empowering advisors and enabling them to reach out in confidence so that we can be navigators, business leaders, strategic partners with our clients. And it just adds to a better client experience when we're being proactive and surfacing up these areas that need to be addressed before it's too late. Okay, so it moves us on to making it easy to say yes. So this is to define a few different standard packages, 2 or 3 standard packages that are easy to discuss. Create clear process flows of how are we going to deliver on our services so that it's easy to understand for leaders in other areas. Clarifying the roles and the economics. Again, it's really important to know, how are your partners incentivized? Are they incentivized in just services in their area? Are they incentivized on firm growth? So we're going into a new year. It's a good time to talk about those things and how they align with CAS growth plans. And then run a pilot with a champion. If you have an eager partner that wants to run strategy alongside you, let's make them successful. Let's make them look like a hero and give them the best possible experience so they become an evangelist for CAS, both internally and externally. So we want to really simplify the adoption as much as possible. Many firms have bespoke offerings. I love that. It does make it harder for the rest of the firm to buy in. So if we could make it simple to get started, that's going to be the easiest path forward. And then we can work on adding and upselling those bespoke offerings in the future. So again, clarify the roles and who's going to be involved. If you have 200 people in your firm, like, who is it that is really going to be leading this CAS growth project, and make sure that we know who's involved and who is going to be your go-to people for adoption and onboarding. And then as our CAS offering changes, we have to go back and sell again internally, because it's going to change as our clients have additional needs, and as we grow our staff, that'll change. What does that look like? We might have someone who is, very talented in one area and they move to another area of concentration. So this is an ongoing process. Sell, resell, and by sell I mean tell a story. It's all selling. And then keep in mind that CAS is really a strategic growth engine for the firm. As we unpack those additional opportunities, as we get closer relationships with our clients, this is where we can refer out services to other parts of the firm, like the wealth management services, transactional services with the M&A, strategic tax services. So just being good partners to the other areas. CAS is the fastest growth area right now, and it's strategic practice, higher returns, especially as we start to do a lot more of the automation on the compliance work. So those niche targets are ideal. We have repeatable offerings that earn significantly more per client. And with the right internal messaging and alignment, this can go really smoothly. But just keep in mind, there's always bumps in the road. We just keep refining our practice and coming back and sharing success and doing debriefs on, okay, this went well, stop, start, continue. What went well? What didn't go good? What should we keep doing?
Elizabeth, I'm going to put another poll in the chat while you're switching screens, asking, does your firm have a CAS champion? So our options are yes, no, not sure, or it's me. And somebody said that we're no longer seeing the PowerPoint, if you want to pull that up.
Goodness gracious. Let me see here. Sorry about that, guys.
And it looks like most of the viewers are voting yes. It's about 60%.
All right. Okay. So let's talk about 90-day CAS at-home plan. So hopefully I think most of you said you were still emerging. So just for our 90-day plan in the first month, let's clarify and align. Let's define 2 or 3 core CAS packages with pricing. Again, keeping in mind we want to align with our firm strategy. Let's map our CAS to firm level KPIs. Whatever the KPIs are that are driving your firm, we want to make sure that we're well aligned with that. And then identify top 20 to 50 clients. Now, this is going to vary depending on the size of your firm. You might have to scale that back, but just let's identify some that are good potential advisory fit. And when I say advisory, it could even be, those CFO services, FP&A services. Where is it that we can grow our clients? What do we have now? And what clients look like those clients within the firm. For the second two, we want to enable a pilot. So we want to build a one-pager, a CAS overview, make sure our partners have talking points. Again, we want to bring in someone from CAS to help in the conversation. It's always best to have a practice leader involved in that conversation. But if it's at top of mind when your other partners are having, or other relationship managers are having the conversations with their clients, to get them started down that path. And we want to run a pilot with 3 to 5 friendly partners. Again, size of firm matters. If you have a small team, a small firm, it might be one partner. And just really work with them on a regular basis ahead. Like, hey, who are you meeting with this week? Are they a good fit? Do we hypothesize they're a good fit for our CAS practice? Let's game plan a little bit of what you're going to say. Does it make sense to bring me, the CAS leader, into the conversation? And then let's track our outcomes. Ideally, you have a repository that you're putting this in, a CRM in. Some say CRM is customer relationship manager, but I'm talking about marketing, like HubSpot. One place to log your conversations. Again, track those outcomes and intros, proposals, conversations, and cheer on our champions, not just in the CAS team, but in those other teams too. Let's call them out. What does good look like? We want to cheer them on. We want to make sure that we make those partners look like rock stars. Month 3, so socialize and scale. Share our early successes. We got to continue to make sure we're selling. It's something that we don't typically do very well. We don't like to cheer ourselves on as much, but share those successes. Have someone else cheer us on as well. And again, like I said, always call out the partners that are referring over. Refine the packages. What did we learn? And reiterate and refine the process, the roles, and so that we continue to learn, iterate, and get better. And then expand to a new wave of partners, a new client segmentation. So again, just growing, iterating, and getting better. So the plan is intentionally modest and achievable. I always like to say proud but achievable, so we can build momentum and credibility and build up our internal champions. So it's the best way that we can do that, to win at home. This is something that we have to make sure that we continue to do. For whatever reason, I hear it time and time again. It's like, oh yeah, we had some great momentum, and then it kind of falls off. So we just have to keep getting out there and sharing our success stories. All right. So that takes us to the end of this call. We have, CAS equals growth. We all know that. I think that's why we're all here. We love our CAS teams, and want to share in success. The challenge is really getting that internal buy-in. I'm often surprised by how many CAS leaders forget that their best source of new clients is from within their firm. So make sure that we continue to share in the success of our firm, growing our offering internally and not just externally. And then reframing the value, again, making sure that we're aligning with the strategy, simplifying our offers whenever possible. Yes, bespoke is beautiful, but it's hard for the other leaders to talk about that. And start small, start focused, and win internally, and then everyone's success grows. So that wraps us up. for today. Alexis, do we have anything else we need to add before we go?
I put one last poll in the chat just asking how we did so we can get some feedback. Give us a 5-star if you learned something today. And don't forget to connect with us on LinkedIn.
Thank you guys so much for your time. We're always looking to add value here at For Impact Data. I'm happy to hear any other ideas you guys have. And we're going to do the same thing, iterate, get better, grow with you as we continue to support the CAS community. Have a great day.
Thank you.